This is Sports Daily. I'm Michael Artsis alongside Darrell, Reid on sports.com. And we've got a special guest on the phone line. Ryan Clark is joining us from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ryan, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
You went to the Steelers facility the other day when the lockout was first lifted. What happened when you went there?
Nothing much, really. We were able to get in and talk to the coaches and, walk around a little bit, greet the people that you see on an everyday basis, when you are at work, janitors and, kitchen staff. But, we weren't able to get into the locker room. Equipment guys weren't even there, actually. Strength coaches were told to stay at home. So I think it was just a move by the organization and by a lot of the owners of the teams that they were going to stand by that until, the state was either rejected or accepted. And, that's what they chose to do. It wasn't much you can get done. It was cool to be able to get back in the building, but it wasn't much work that you can get done.
Ryan, Darrell, Reid, were you able to talk to any of the coaches there or anybody at the facility, the owners, GM, anybody up there?
Yeah, we met everybody. I saw everybody. Coach Tyler actually opened the door for us. We sat in the cafeteria and talked for a little while. I met my new defensive back coach, Cornell Lake. We chopped it up, and, we talked a little bit just about the season and, how he, I was just trying to tell him we have a very good room. It's a bunch of good guys. Also talked to Mr. Rooney. Our Rooney came down and, he shook our hands and, asked us if we needed anything, told us his door was open, if we wanted to talk, because obviously it was myself and Charlie Batch, who's part of the executive committee for the players. And so we just went with that, and, we talked, chatted a little bit. Wasn't much to be said. Clearly, we couldn't hash out and negotiate a deal right there. He went upstairs, and we went about our way.
Was it frustrating at all, Ryan, that you couldn't get any work done at work? That you went there, that you went to the facility, and that you couldn't touch the equipment, you couldn't lift weights, you couldn't work with the strength and conditioning coaches, you couldn't open playbooks, you couldn't do what you wanted to do? Was that frustrating?
You know what? I can't actually say I wanted to do anything. I can be honest. I can't say I went there with expectations of being able to actually get a lot of work done.
At least you're honest.
I'm going into my 10th year. Right now, I'm kind of on my own regimen. I know where I need to train. I know what I need to do. I think it was more upsetting and frustrating that you didn't have the option.
What about What about now? What's going on now with the fact that the judge has said, no, I'm not going to give you a temporary restraining order. I'm not going to institute the lockout back in place until the appeal is heard. The appeal is going to get heard, and until the appeal gets heard, what I said goes.
I think it's a good ruling, and I think it's the only ruling to make when you feel like illegal acts were being taken place. How can you say, yes, this act is illegal, but I'm going to let you do it until your appeal is heard if you truly believe it is against the law? So I think that was kind of what I expected and hoped for, but you just never know with these types of decisions. Also, on the other side of that, now something has to get done. They had to figure out a way and figure out a plan, a way of moving on, because with the lockout being lifted, free agency should start. You should be able to train. You should be able to be coached.
Exactly.
And this is around the time that these things should be happening. And if these things aren't happening, you're clearly going against the ruling of the judge.
And talking to Coach Tomlin and the owner, Mr. Rooney, up there, did you get any feeling that anything was going to change anytime soon?
Not sure. I truly believe the owners expected to get the stay. I think it was a big surprise for them to not get it. As far as Coach Tyler was concerned, his big thing was, hey, if everybody's doing the same thing, I'm okay. His big thing was about, I don't want to fall behind.
Exactly.
I don't want other teams to have opportunities to practice, other teams allowing guys in the gym to work out if we're not going to do it. So I think that's really what he was focused on. And, other than that and aside from that, it wasn't really much talked about whether it would change or not, because everyone was truly waiting on if the temporary stay was granted.
Ryan, does this mean that you expect tomorrow everybody will go back to work and start reporting to their respective teams if they're not a free agent?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I think that's the decision that's going to be made by the owners. Will you accept this? Also, you got to look at each separate team now they have to put a game plan together for getting their players back in. You know, it's not like the thing like they can say, okay, y'all come in, we have everything ready for you, ready to go, when they weren't expecting it. So it's gonna be a big deal. It's not gonna be chaos. They need to figure out which rules we're gonna play under and how we're gonna govern this upcoming season, and then we need to move on from there. I think what has happened is, you know, it's been figured out for us.
Right.
We couldn't get to the table and hash it out. It's been figured out for us. Now it's time to move on.
At this point, you know, going into the NFL draft, usually there's been a mini camp, an OTA, or something with the team by this point. How big of a difference is it this year with no mini camp, no OTAs, nothing going into the draft, and perhaps not after the draft?
It's huge. I think it's huge. You know, it's always fun to come in the week after the draft and see your draft picks. You know, it's always fun as a veteran to sit on the side and say, okay, we got us one here. This guy's going to be a player. You enjoy that. You look forward to that. Also, going into the draft, you know, maybe you've had an OTA or maybe you've had a mini camp and you've seen, okay, yeah, we still need to improve here. Or this guy looks like he's losing a step. So I know as far as evaluations and evaluating your team, it's going to be a little different. But this is the monster we've created. And the thing about it is 32 teams have to play under the same roof. 32 teams are going through the same thing. So at least it's equality there. But a lot of teams, if you're the bottom of the barrel teams, if you're teams with new coaches, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle.
What do you make of this draft, Ryan? The draft is going on starting today. It'll go through the weekend. But there's so much chaos, so much up in the air. What do you make of the whole thing between being what it would be like to be a draft pick and if you should show up in New York to the whole draft and what happens afterwards?
I think you should, if my opinion, if you're invited, you should go. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. These guys have worked so hard, played so hard throughout their careers in high school and college, the grind of the summer programs, you know, making sure you're eligible, doing your schoolwork, keeping your nose clean. If you have an opportunity, if you've been blessed to be there, I say you go. I say you go, and I say you enjoy it. You know, you shake the commissioner's hand. I mean, if you're the type of guy that's kind of like me, then, you know, you say, hey, why are you trying to lock us out? But other than that, you go on and keep on, and you take your picture, and you be excited about it because it's an amazing event. And as far as the draft still going on, I have no problem with that. You know, it's part of the business, and especially if things are going the way that it is right now, we're going to play football.
So, Ryan, talk to me about not getting drafted. You weren't drafted. I wasn't drafted. I think you went to the New York Giants. I ended up going to the Indianapolis Colts as free agents after the draft. Apparently, the free agents will not be able to sign with teams. So after the draft, guys like me and yourself would not be able to sign with a team. How disheartening is that for guys?
It's very disheartening. It's very disheartening. You know, you look at it in two ways, definitely. If we had a lockout that lasted, you know, throughout this, that guys couldn't sign, couldn't do things, those guys don't give an opportunity to make a team. If the lockout is granted to stay, those guys never have a chance to get in and play. But now that we have this lockout lifted, if the NFL does this right and abides by the court order, these guys can't get picked up. These guys can't have a chance. They can't get mini camps. They can't get OTAs. They can't get opportunities to make these teams. You know, it would be truly sad because there are gems in there, you know. There are D. Reids. You know what I mean? There are James Harrisons. These guys who come along and make great plays and have good careers in the NFL after being missed in the draft, and to take that opportunity away from them is really a sad thing. And that is why I think business as usual should start. That's what the court has ordered. There's no lockout, and give those guys a chance.
Ryan, I want to thank you very much for joining us on sports.com.